Hi, and welcome to another episode of Nursing Your Way to Wealth, where a mental health nurse and an accountant talk about wealth creation, personal development, and financial independence in the UK to help you live the life you deserve.
Hello and welcome back. It's episode 81 of Nursing Your Way to Wealth. Both Alex and I now have finished Morgan Housel's book, The Art of Spending Money. So we thought we would just talk a little bit about some of the themes that stood out to us a lot during that book. We're both going to bring you a quick return on heartbeats. We'll talk a little bit about the book and how we found it, what we learned, etc., and apply it to our own lives. And then I've got a hopefully quite a good reasonable or ridiculous for this week. So Alex, I'll pass to you. Welcome back, and for your return on heartbeats, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, hi Alex and hi everyone, and welcome back. So, just my return on heartbeats this week was on Sunday, just going down to the local cenotaph to do like part of the Remembrance Sunday. So there's quite a big kind of event there, led by some of the scout, and which was nice, and then a little bit of a parade through the town centre. So nice way to spend the morning.
Is it a building that's a cenotaph? I've never heard the term.
Oh, I just meant like a memorial,
Oh,
like a war memorial. I
oh,
don't know if I've
okay.
cenotaph might be too grand a word for it, but so like yeah, they like laid down the wreath and stuff like that, which was yeah, no, it was really good and
Oh,
a
good.
nice way to start the Sunday.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, probably at the same time on Sunday while you were doing that, I was helping my father-in-law repair a wall in my house. Um, a number of years ago, my car slid into the front of our house twice in the ice, and I ended up cracking a couple of bricks and knocking a load of the mortar. I think the stuff you stick bricks together with
Oh
that.
dear.
Yeah, so he just helped me repair it. But we're 4 years later now. It's not been a problem, but he just had some extra time, and I got all the stuff. So yeah, laid a couple of bricks. Learned a little bit about that as well, which was much more technical than you think.
Yeah, I can
Um,
imagine. I reckon it looks like one of those jobs that looked really easy from the outside, but I imagine it's really difficult.
yeah, there's textures, mixtures, all sorts of like splitting stuff and how you apply it and put the brick in place. And there was string involved, all sorts of measurements. Like it's a lot.
Well, hopefully that's all fixed now.
Well, I'm probably not going to park on my drive in the ice this winter if it happens again. 'Cause I can't ring him up and be like, it's happened again. um, yeah. Um, so my return on heartbeat. So I have a colleague of mine, or an ex-colleague now, who's from India. I've mentioned it before, but I bought some pairs of trousers from him from some Indian friends that he has. He has been recently, and he's bought me a pair of black corduroy trousers that are made to the measurements that his tailoring guy has for me from the last time. He said to me that I don't owe him anything for these corduroys, and I was like, please let me give you something for them. So we agreed that I would trade him some focaccia bread that my wife has made for the pair of trousers. So it's a trade of cloth and stitching for yeast and bread.
Brilliant. It's like the old Silk Road.
Yeah, basically trading wares instead of money.
Yes.
Yeah, so he doesn't know that I'm going to bring him focaccia, but I've done it in the past and he absolutely loved it. So hopefully he's happy with the trade. But I mean, in reality, these corduroys probably cost, I don't know, less than a fiver to make over there, whereas they would be, I don't know, 40, 50 quid or something if they're in England. Um, yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
so
Easily.
yeah, kind of him to do that, and yeah, a bit of an oldie worldy trade thing going on. So on to kind of the book, The Art of Spending Money, Morgan's Housel's third book. I think that might not be correct, but I think it's his third book. Um, I mean, you've just finished reading it. Main theme that kind of stuck out for you, or anything that's changed how you think about things? I mean, I know you've read hundreds of books around money now, so is it all samey, or is it something that's kind of different now?
Yeah, enjoyed that book, and definitely I think everyone that's interested in this topic should definitely read it. I guess there's a few things which came out for me. One which was just kind of reinforcing the fact that this path that we're doing is the right one in terms of maximizing your kind of happiness and the kind of getting most out of life. I think so Morgan himself confesses to be quite a big saver. He's always been investing, and he's built up a portfolio that allows him to just not have to work, and so he does what he wants to do. Does what he wants to do with who he wants for however long he wants, which I think is the goal for all of us. And I think often in that you can see he talks about how I often saving up for and investing is seen as kind of sacrificing the now for for later, and therefore you're kind of depriving yourself of the now. But actually, what I find quite interesting is he talks about like some of the money that he's been spending on investments are actually is some of the best money that he's ever spent. And the reason for that is like you're buying yourself options. So he said when you buy put $100 away, that's $100 worth of options that's buying you. And as that builds and builds and builds over time, you are buying yourself more options to do what you want. So you are, and that ultimately leads to the freedom. So I think that was good for me just to help reinforce some of that. But I think the thing when it came to spending money, and he talks about it in quite a deep way, and something which I've probably, like something that I've probably been trying to put together in my mind, but he articulated it quite well. And it's that when he's like the thing that you buy that you think is going to make you happy probably isn't the thing that's going to make you happy. It's probably sometimes what it enables. So he gives an example of like a large house, and it's not necessarily the house itself that's going to give you anything. It's the fact that actually you're going to fill it with, it's much easier to host friends and family, and therefore that's the source of the happiness with it, not necessarily the item. So it's the facilitator of things. And I think if you understand, and it's like the same with like buying fancy cars, you buy a fancy car not because you want the fancy car, it's because you want recognition. And often the people that you want recognition from, really their opinion of you isn't going to change because of what car that you drive. And it was just interesting for me trying to, like, from reading it or listening to it, I should say, it's kind of getting underneath the why you buy something, and that's the thing that you actually want, not the product itself. So yeah, that's kind of what my big takeaway from it so far.
Yeah, and I think it's the behavior around why people make the choices they make, and whether they really deeply understand that or not. Because I think, in my point of view, like both you and I are similar to Morgan, even though he doesn't know we exist, but we are both savers and investors as people. It's done us both very well over the kind of the time that we've been doing that for. But I wonder if I don't what am I trying to say? I think I know myself quite well, but when I listened to certainly that section of the book, I was like, well, actually, why do I spend some of the money that I spend? And sometimes I'll end up buying something or buying a service or a thing or whatever, and I don't think enough about why I'm doing it. And I think my brain's just like, this is a problem, money can solve it, therefore it's not a problem because I've solved it. But actually, what do I fundamentally want out of that? So a good example of this is, I suppose, a last no 2 weekends ago, we had some family come and stay with us, and on that it was a Friday. They were going to stay Friday night, Saturday, and depart Sunday. So our house needed cleaning, and I paid a cleaner, like a one-off thing, just to come and do 3-4 hours at home, because both my wife and I were at work and we didn't want to come in and we didn't have enough time to properly clean to the level we'd want. And there are family members of ours, so they're not going to judge us particularly on not having a pristinely perfect house. So I think we did it to avoid any negative thoughts in our own mind that maybe they would think that. And even if they did, they certainly wouldn't tell us. So I think it's something that settled both mine and my wife's brains down. Probably we could have got away with not doing it, but we felt better from doing it. And I think it's only after I read that passage in the book, or again listened to the passage in the book, that I really thought more about that decision, because I made the decision really quickly. I was just like, I need this, don't have enough time, therefore I'll pay for someone else to do it. But the depth of it is, why did I feel I needed it?
Yeah, that's interesting because I think it's more. I think there might be a phrase which is like, who are you buying this for? And is it for you or is it for somebody else? And sometimes it's that thought of, am I going to get judged because of something which I think people will judge me on, and therefore you spend something to correct what other people might think of you, even though reality is most strangers don't care about you at all, so therefore that's not a worry. Family members probably couldn't care less if your house is a little bit dusty because they're there to see you. And I think it applies in a ton of other, like nearly to every purchase, pretty much. Um,
I just wonder. Sorry to cut you mid sentence. I just wonder about the the way we consider ourselves in other people's lives, because I'm one of the central people in my own life. Like, there's my wife and our immediate family and our closest friends, etc. Other people aren't going to care enough about me and who I am to make for me to take up any of their brain space. Like, my wife would call this like centering yourself in someone else's story, when actually I've, like, last week or so, I went many places, did many things, couldn't tell you anything about any one of the people I interacted with outside of that close knit circle to me. And I wonder if I've ever spent any money or made any decisions around what I think someone else might be thinking of me. Because it makes no sense, does it?
no, exactly. And I think one of the other big takeaways from the book, which I think is quite powerful, and I'm sure he's mentioned it in the psychology of money as well, was around if you can like almost not care about what other people think of you when it comes to your spending, then you're basically nearly you've pretty much won the game because you take away so many of those and like particularly like what clothes you wear or what car you drive or what kind of house you live in. And to your point, a lot of it's about trying to buy for others to think, well, what might they think of me by doing this? So you're actually spending your money for someone else. And I think if you can get to that point, I think he calls it like one of the biggest assets on your balance sheet if you basically don't really care what other people are thinking of you. Um, which I thought was really quite powerful because you then almost detach from the consumerist wheel. And it's like, well, it's like cars might be a good example. You might want a car that's just going to get you from A to B. If you scuff it, it doesn't really matter. You can throw stuff in the boot and not really care. But, and that's really what you need. And there's a multitude of cars that do that with all sorts of badges on the front. But it might be, well, actually, I might need the BMW or the Mercedes. That's what I should be buying because of the social connotations that come with it. And people might think you're then doing well, or you can prove to them that you're doing well by the badge that's on the front of your car. Whereas actually what you need is just an absolute, you know, workhorse that you don't really doesn't really matter if you scratch it kind of thing.
An old Volvo.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but obviously biased because I have one. But I wonder if a lot of people do make decisions kind of on autopilot like that, and you hit these expected, not milestones, but these expected things that you should have. And I wonder if the move from working in offices to working from home is slightly moving the needle away from that kind of thing. So if you work in a, say, a professional field and you wear ill-fitting clothing that's got kind of holes in it, etc., people are probably going to judge you based on that. And it might mean that it has an impact on your working life. It also perhaps would make a difference if you drove a really beat up car, maybe, that's constantly breaking down, etc., in a car park full of, like you say, Mercedes, BMWs, etc.
I think that's could be part of it, but I think the way I look at it is almost like, well, you can say if you were to wear shirts to work, you can wear like Ralph Lauren or Gant or I don't know, any other fancy brand, or you could just wear like a plain blue shirt from a supermarket. And ultimately, it's going to look, you don't have the signal, but you're probably less bothered about, I don't know, if you can be bothered not to buy a Ralph Lauren because you don't think it's going to impact you, then and I can't imagine anybody not getting a promotion because they don't wear certain things. But I agree, you probably don't want to turn up to a business meeting in a really old suit that's misshapen and in
Hmm.
a car that's gonna, yeah, falling apart. But
Yeah, conk out. You have to go back in after your interview and ask for some jump cables.
yeah, because give me a push. But I think this is kind of where it comes from. It's that
There's a middle ground.
exactly, and I don't take from it like, well, they never spend any money and like be, look dreadful and really don't care what the people think about you. I think you still can look presentable, but it's like you don't necessarily. Oh, it's like handbags for women. It's like you don't necessarily need the latest handbag to have, or the latest fancy backpack or whatever it might be. Um, and I think it can go some way from to just detaching, with the point being you then hold on to more of your money, which therefore gives you more options.
Yeah. Yeah, and it buys you freedom. I think there's something here about form over function. Like, I probably, just thinking about my old work office in the clinic, I probably had the oldest car, no, the second oldest car there out of all of them. And now I'm at the point where my wife and I could buy any reasonable car that we would want. I say reasonable to avoid like Lamborghinis, etc. We're not talking that level, but any reasonable car like we could buy. And when you get to that point now, because we've been putting this money away for our own freedom and gives us these choices, I actually don't want any other car than the one I have. It's like hassle to change it, and I'm not bothered if I scrape my current one, and it gets anything mechanical it needs, and occasionally I wash it. And it's reliably good. It just gets me from A to B. And like you say, you can chuck things in the back of it. This morning, I put a little Tykes car for like kids. You know, those little plastic ones with wheels and a beeping horn and stuff. Yeah,
I do.
in the back of my Volvo.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was dripping loads of water out. And so I shook it around, got rid of as much water as possible, and just shoved it in the car on top of a towel. If I had a brand new fancy smancy kind of car that cost 90 grand, probably wouldn't have put it in the back.
Yeah, and I think that's it's funny you should say that because I'm in terms of your attitude to it now, because I'm exactly the same. Like when I was growing up, I would measure success by the cars that I would drive. Well, when I was like before I could actually drive, but kind of in that teenager years, I would literally have in my wallet little snippets of cars that I would want to buy in the future, and it's like you get to the point where you can actually buy them, and it's like actually I don't really want them. And it's like I could literally like I could go past a showroom, any showroom, and we can buy a car from there, like outright. It's ours. But the desire completely falls away. And I see that with a lot of stuff. I see it with whether it's clothes, whether it's food, like in the supermarkets and stuff. And I always think with like supermarkets, only when you shop at Waitrose do you tell people like you do your food shopping at Waitrose. No one ever, people just say, oh, I've just done my grocery shopping.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, well, I got this from Waitrose. And it's like, you are signaling there beyond belief.
Yeah, and who does it matter to? Because you're not going to care.
Oh, exactly. I couldn't care. And unless you're giving me some food, I don't care where you buy your grocery from. Like you could grow it or you could steal it for all I care. It has no effect on
No.
me. But it's that point of, well, I'm in this type of job. I identify as this type of person, therefore I must shop at certain places. And it's like get your coffee and your croissant in the morning from Gales. You get your, you know, food from Waitrose. You go out for your lunch. You go to some overpriced place for cocktails in an
Mm.
evening because you have an identity of what you think that should do because you are interested in and you care about what other people think of you. But like, I couldn't care less.
No. And actually, when you strip all of that away, which person is happier, them or you?
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of the book comes down to. It's almost solving for happiness.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another book called Soul for Happy, isn't there?
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's a literal book. I think is it Ken Honda that's written it? I'm just going to look this up quickly, but I've not read it. I just know the book face. It's got a big yellow like smiley face on it.
Oh, okay. But yeah,
It's not. It's Mo Gauda. It's not Ken Honda. Yeah, Soul for Happy, Engineer Your Path to Joy. I like Mo as an author. He's written a lot of good books. Um, yeah, the other thing I was going to ask you, Alex, around kind of things in the book is one of the main themes that kind of comes through it is all behavior makes sense with enough information. So I
Yes.
wonder why people feel like they have to project an image that perhaps isn't true. It must give them a feeling of something, and I'm not smart enough in psychology to know what that feeling might be. I just wonder if, like, to me, it would give me like worry. Well, I've owned like cheap cars and I've owned fancy cars. I worried about the fancy ones and I don't worry about the cheap ones. And it's quite freeing to not worry about where you park your car, or is it clean enough, or is someone going to scratch it? Whereas my car mostly gets washed by the rain and is covered. There's dents and scratches on every panel.
Mm. Yeah, I thought that was quite powerful as well when it was talking about that. And I guess it's yeah, there is a reason, and it could be, I've been at a point before where I've not literally not had any money and sold my car and had like gone into my
Mm.
overdraft from bank fees. And it was honestly the worst feeling. It was horrible. And it's almost like, well, I'd never want to get back to that point. Whereas other people might have had, and it could be maybe when they were growing up and they didn't have much, maybe they didn't have much, and now they've got some money. It's and it's spending on very other material things to prove to people in their past that they're doing well, or family members and friends and stuff. I see that quite a bit. But yeah, again, I'm nowhere near a psychologist. Or I'm not a psychologist whatsoever. But I think that term of, it makes sense with enough information, and everybody's completely different, and somebody's way of spending is right for them and not right for someone else. And I'm guilty of myself not of maybe quickly judging what people spend their money on. And what I try and do is like, for me, what they've done would not be a priority, but for them it might be. And whether that's a fancy car or a fancy watch or a nice pair of shoes or a fancy suit or really extravagant holiday, whatever it might be, like for them that makes perfect sense and that's something. Whereas rather than me immediately going, wow, that was a silly decision. You should have just maxed out your ISO and used up your tax allowance. It's like for me,
A very easy thing to think, isn't it?
it is. And so I'm like, well, actually, right, for me, that would not be the priority, but for them, then that's cool. Um,
Yeah. I think a lot of people base these judgments on very little information. So,
yes.
another thing that Morgan writes very well about is the only metric you have is that this person used to have this money and now they don't because they bought whatever thing it is. We have no idea how someone's bought it, whether it's on credit, whether it's on cash, whether they've saved for an hour or a month for it. The only metric we know is they used to have money, but now they bought the thing. And it could be half of their net worth that they've spent on it. It could be less than 1%. And I think it's around the point of it's very easy and quick to judge people, but without knowing the full story, I think the judgment is it's a little bit it's rash and a bit ill-founded because I don't think that people judge me for the things that I own and the things that I drive. Like Alex, you would probably tell me that I spend far too much money on fancy coffee beans, perhaps because perhaps it's not something you value, but it's something I really like. But then you'll spend a lot more money than me on particular things because that's what you value, and that's fine. You're you, and I'm me.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the time it's it's like what you infer from certain purchases, and it's usually, and I think that example of like you see a guy going past in a Lamborghini, all you know is he's got whatever that cost. He doesn't have that in his bank account. He has that in a car. Like, and there's a powerful story within that in the book, and it's about a basketball player who I can't remember his name, but at the time he signed something like I think it was $108 million contract for 6 years playing with the top NBA basketball team, and then he then finished his career, and it was something crazy like 8 years after he declared bankruptcy, and it like on the outside he was saying he would never wear the same suit twice. He would have about 7 or 8 cars on the go at any one time. As soon as he saw someone else with a nicer car, he would replace the car. He had like, I think he lived in a huge mansion. He bought his mum like a 10 bedroom, 10 bathroom house with a basketball court. He would like buy friends and family all sorts of stuff. And then it turned out he ended up with something like $12 million worth of debt and $4 million worth of assets. And then he had to declare bankruptcy and is now a financial advisor for professional athletes, basically trying to get them to learn from what he did. Um, but like from the outside, you think, "Oh my God, this guy's got so much money. He's did," and in theory, he does.
Set for
But
life.
well, it's funny when the chief exec of the basketball team signed it. He said this guy will never need to worry about money again for the rest of his life, which was quite funny. Um,
Well, but it's who you're around, isn't it?
yeah,
If all of your colleagues and the other players are doing these things, they're buying huge houses with basketball courts, you probably feel like you deserve that. And you should have that to fit in.
yeah, and it quickly goes um, if you're not, yeah, if you're not careful with it. But it's at that point, it's like you look on the outside, you think this guy's beyond rich, but actually he's underwater. Um, so yeah, I thought it was a really, really good book, and I've got 90 minutes left, so I will finish that tomorrow, and I think it's would recommend it to anyone. To be honest, good book.
Yeah, me too. I like anything kind of Morgan's written. The last thing I'll mention about the book, and we'll just move on as usual, but is the one thing that I found perhaps the most interesting in it is again around a psychology and a thinking area. And he talks, I'm going to try and paraphrase this, but I don't remember the words kind of verbatim, but he says things about the stuff that you want and you can afford, you just have, and that becomes your baseline. The stuff that you want and you can't afford, that drives you insane. And there's a real difference between the affordable stuff that you can have because that becomes your new normal and your hedonic treadmill resets. But the stuff that's just out of reach is really difficult for our brains to deal with. So if we think about me buying, I don't know, a a house in Canary Wharf or something, not going to happen, right? On a nurse's salary, that's nowhere. It's not even in my future forecast that possibly one day I'll be able to do that. Just not happening. So I don't think about it. But for me, moving from a type of terraced house that I live in to a detached house, that's agonizing for me because I'm like, actually, maybe this is doable. If I do this, this, and this right, we could have that. And I think about that most days. And I try and level myself out. And I think, actually, we've got enough space here. We have a driveway we're very fortunate to have. We've got a small garden, etc. But this thought keeps coming back around. And I feel there's a lot of truth in that bit that your brain will drive yourself crazy about stuff that's just out of reach because you always feel like, if I had the next thing, if I had this thing or that thing, or lived here or drove that, or wore this type of clothes, I would feel like I'd made it. But then your treadmill resets and you're back to zero, back to normal again.
That's a really good point because I thought exactly the same. And I think one thing I took out of that really was being grateful for what you've got and being content with what you've got.
Yeah.
And I think he was saying it was like if you then anchor on the next thing, like almost in your brain is then focusing on the next thing that will then make you happy, not the current stuff that will make you happy now. And
Anticipation.
yeah, and it's that thing of it's always in the next, and it's like I can't remember what he calls it exactly, but it's like that the social treadmill, like you never the social comparison treadmill or something. Like you're never gonna win that game because it never stops, and it's that hedonic treadmill, which I think we talked about a lot, isn't it? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like okay, it's the next thing. Okay, it's a 4 bedroom house. Okay, so then is the next one a 5 bedroom house, and then is it a 5 bedroom house with an acre of land, and then with 2 acres of land, and is it a holiday home? Like, where does it stop? And you need to, yeah, I think by pausing, looking back from where you come from, being grateful for what you've got, I think is and almost not buying things for you, not what you not for other people, I think was also a huge takeaway for me.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? And I think you're absolutely right. Where does it stop? Like, five, no, six, no. longer ago than that, right? When I left uni and I lived in a flat by the sea, and maybe I've mentioned this before, but I had windows that leaked. It was just not wasn't a nice place to live. And if you told me that actually in the next 5 years or so, you'd meet your wife, you'd move in with her, you'd live in the house that I'm currently living in now. I'm sitting in one of our bedrooms upstairs talking to you. If you said you'll have this, I'll be like, I'll take it. I'd have snapped your hand off and took it in a heartbeat. But now, sometimes I catch myself and I'm thinking, oh, if I only had a bit more space, or if I had this, I could do that. And actually, I need to level myself and recognize the humongous leap that I already have made, and it's being content with what you have.
Yeah, and I saw something really powerful the other day, and I don't know if it was like one of these things on Pinterest, but it was like something along the lines of what you've got now is what you dreamed about when you were like 10 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, you'd
And it
be
was
right.
like, and it's like, oh, you wanted the job in London, you wanted the house in the home counties. You're
Mm,
like, you wanted that, you got that now. And it's like, right. So yeah, it's almost, and there's a phrase I really like, and I think it's a Buddhist phrase, which is, wherever you go, there you are. And it's like, for me, it's quite powerful because it's like, no matter what you do and where you go, like, you're still there with the same thoughts in your mind and the same problems.
mm. You can only be in one place at a
Yeah.
time. So what's the point in having two houses?
But it's like, but why, like, buying a huge house or buying a Lamborghini or buying a holiday home isn't going to, if you're not happy and you're not content, that's not going to solve that.
No. And by a similar vein, again, Morgan says a bit apart in the book that money amplifies who you are
Yes.
as well. It can either turn people into great people or not so great people, but it just amplifies what was there to begin with. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Anything more about the book you want to mention at all?
No, I will finish it and I'll let you know if
Yeah.
there's anything other in the last kind of 90 minutes or so of the audiobook. But yeah, from what I read, definitely would recommend reading it. Very thought provoking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same. Same.
enjoying it.
The last bit's very good, actually, as well. I think you'll enjoy it too. So maybe we do an intro in the next
Yeah.
few weeks, just about the last parts. Okay. Are you ready for my
reasonable or ridiculous?
What seems like a bit ridiculous or reasonable now, considering our conversation for the pod? So I'm just like filling in forms currently, jotting some I's, doing some T's or whatever that phrase is about starting a new job. As part of that, there is a team day thing. It's about 3 to 4 hours away from my house. It's 180 miles or so each way. It happens to be at a hotel that has a spa attached to it. So the company are funding like travel, rooms, and food whilst you're there. And the point is like networking, planning for the coming like couple of years or whatever. They've agreed to refund my fuel costs, right, for the trip. And my question around this is it reasonable or ridiculous to spend some of that money that I'm going to get back for the diesel I'll have bought to get there and back? Can I spend some of that reimbursement on a spa treatment on the last day? It would be about half of the reimbursed money that I'd get back for fuel.
I think that's completely fair. So I'm quite an advocate for going to the spa and stuff and having massages. I think it's like I speak from personal experience. I feel a lot more relaxed. I feel much more content having done it. So I think and often, yeah, if you can basically get half of your fuel money, and yeah, basically buy a spa treatment for yourself. You're staying in the hotel for free. It's a nice free trip. I would go for it. I think that's completely reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would. I mean, I can justify anything to myself, right? Like, no problem, I can justify that. But I just wondered about it because I looked at the website today and I looked whether there was any spaces for spa treatments on what it would be this coming Friday. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, normally I wouldn't spend 60 quid on that or something like that. But actually, if I think about it this way, I'm going to get more than 60 quid back in fuel, much more than that. And it would be about half of the fuel cost. I mean, yeah, I've got to pay for the diesel or whatever. at the time. But no, I'm glad you think it's reasonable because I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it.
Yeah. What is it? Do you know what specific thing you're having or?
It's some kind of, well, the one I like the look of the most is back, neck, shoulder, scalp massage.
Oh yeah, nice.
But there are other options though. You never know. Next time we record, I might tell you I got some kind of facial or whatever.
Yeah, well, I find them really relaxing, and in an age where it's very hard to relax, I think they're a good investment. So I don't do them so often, probably once every 6 months or so. But now we've go to that new gym slash spa. I basically go into the spa pool and sauna every week, so that's nice. But
Yeah, and
I get a load of value out of it.
actually there's a lot of research to say that saunas are really good for your health.
Yes,
And
yeah, like sauna, steam room, that kind of thing.
swapping
Roman
between
baths.
hot and cold
Yes.
is good for you as well. So, do you ever jump in the? Is there an ice pool at the spa thing you go to?
There's not an ice pool, but there's a cold shower next to the sauna.
Do you ever do cold water and then hot?
I do. Yeah. One of the best
Okay.
experiences I've ever had, actually. One of my friends from university who I did my master's with, he lives in Norway, and I went to go and visit him. And he has a sauna. His parents live on a river, and they have a sauna next to the river. So you do the sauna, and then you run out into the river
What? And then back again?
in the freezing cold, and then you go back into the sauna afterwards. And it was the most refreshing, cleanest thing I've ever felt.
There's a lot of research. Like Andrew Huberman's done a lot of kind of research into the hot and cold kind of treatments and how it helps your immune system, etc. Yeah, I've never done it with a river though and a sauna. That sounds great on paper.
Yeah, that was very memorable. But yeah,
Yeah,
so I think it's,
cool.
in summary, very reasonable.
Fine, good. I will do it. I was probably going to do it anyway. Do you want to do a quick summary of the episode, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, I can do a quick summary. So
Cool.
we started the episode with a return on heartbeat. So mine was the going to the Remembrance Day. Alex, you were rebuilding a wall, and I can't remember what your exact.
So mine was I'm going to trade some focaccia bread for a pair of trousers.
That was
Yeah.
it. Yeah, perfect. And so the main body was we were just giving our summary of our thoughts on Morgan Housel's new book, The Art of Spending Money. So I think both Alex and I thought it was really worth the read. Reinforce the fact that we're following the path that we're doing in terms of buying freedom. Really good insights into and discussion on why you spend and what actually it is that you're looking to spend money on, and some of the psychology that sits behind those decisions. The power of not really caring what others think about you and spending money for you, for your sake, and not for other people. And that's a kind of a huge asset on your balance sheet. And then yeah, just quick summary on the reasonable or ridiculous is whether it's reasonable or ridiculous for Alex to buy a spa treatment as part of his reimbursed petrol money for going to a offsite this week. And we concluded it. Well, my view was it was very reasonable.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do it, and I'll come back in another episode and just kind of cross the T with that, like close the loop. Yeah.
That's
cool.
it.
But that's been episode 81. We're going to have a short break next week. Just we've both got some stuff to do. We're going to be quite busy. But normal service will resume a little later in November. If you've got any thoughts, questions, queries, do email us at nursingyourwaytowealth@gmail.com. I've got a couple of finance books that I'm happy to post out to people as well. I gave another one away last week. So if you would like one of the books, just send us an email and I'll send you a list of what I have and I'll post it out. It would be a UK thing only at this point. I tried to post a book overseas once and it was monstrously expensive. So yeah, if you live in England and you want some free money books, just let me know and I'll wing them out to you. Alex, thank you for your time, my friend. Enjoy your next week and we'll catch up mid-November or so.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Cheers, Alex.
None of what we discuss on the show is to be considered financial or health advice, and we recommend you always do your own research or consult an independent financial advisor or a doctor when making your financial or health decisions.